When we think about what makes a production really good, we think about maybe the equipment, maybe the pre-production, the crew, the shot list, and things like that. But what we often overlook is the ability to communicate. We're going to look at the Hollyland Solidcom C1 Pros and discuss exactly why every production, regardless of the size, can benefit from these headphones. And if it's your first time here, welcome. My channel is all about helping you turn your passion into a paycheck whilst taking you along my filmmaking journey. If that's the kind of thing that you're into, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. So if you've never heard of the Hollyland Solidcoms, they're essentially a wireless headphone that you and your team can use on set to communicate absolutely hands-free. Let's open it up real quick and see what kind of things you get with this unit. Alright, so there's quite a bit going on in here. We'll get through it all real quick though. Open up the top here, it looks like the power cable. Looks like a few extra accessories for the headset itself. It's going to be quite a few, yep. They got the ear muffs that you can use to put on the headset. This looks like a USB-C cable. This is probably to update the unit if you ever have to do that. And this looks like the little wall charger here that you would have to put in. Looks like a couple of manuals and stickers that you can use to label each one of the headsets. We're gonna probably use those in a few minutes. And then you get a bunch of batteries. This looks like about 8, but I think there's a few more that we'll double check and see if there's any more in the actual units themselves. And then each one of the units come in this little bag, which is very nice. So we decided to go with the 4-pack, but you can also get them in 2, 4, 6, and 8, and that's completely wirelessly. And if you decide to go with the hub that Hollyland also sells, you can get up to 21 of these on one network, essentially. And I think that's more than enough for any production that you're ever going to find yourself on. So in the set, you'll get 3 of these ones that connect to the master headset. We'll open up real quick. They make it really easy to use these headsets. You just turn on the master and then connect the other ones to it, and then you're ready to go. And a couple of the key features on this is that you do get up to 350 meters from the master headset. So if I'm in the middle and we had a radius of 350 meters, that's how far all the other ones will be able to go. And now keep in mind that that range is also only within line of sight. So if you start going to a building or anything like that where there's walls preventing you from seeing each other, that range is going to reduce significantly. Batteries just go right in to the headsets. And there's literally just a little tiny switch here that you use to turn them on. So I'm just going to switch them over from these earmuffs to these ones, just simply because I think they look a lot better, and on a long day they also feel a lot better. So back in the day we used to use these type of walkie-talkies that, you know, absolutely did get the job done. But the problem was that they were one-way transmitters, which means you can only talk or listen at once. So essentially if someone's talking, no one else can. And if you're talking, you can't listen at the same time. So it was one-way talkies. And on top of that, they were not hands-free. So anytime you want to use these things, you have to hit the button, bring it up to your mouth, say what you got to say, release the button, and then wait for a response. So it's pretty old technology and a little bit cumbersome if you're doing anything that you need both your hands. And on top of that, anytime a transmission came through, it came through this little speaker here, and literally everyone can hear what the person was transmitting. So pretty annoying in terms of its overall use, but like I said, it did get the job done before. Hollyland came in with their Solidcom C1s and completely revolutionized the way that production teams communicate on set. These headsets were great, if we're being honest. But they decided to change the game up again when they came out with their pro versions of these headsets. I remember shooting a live performance where we had 3 cameras and we were in a large auditorium and the people on stage were performing a music piece. And we were responsible for getting different shots that were happening on the stage. The problem was that we weren't beside each other. One of us were way up on a balcony, one was in the middle, one was a little bit close to the stage. But because of how loud it was in there, even though we were wearing the headsets, it was really hard to hear each other. And this was the major lacking feature on the first versions of these headsets. The Pro versions introduced noise canceling, which in my opinion made these headphones perfect. Imagine being in a loud environment like a wedding or a concert or something like that, and having the ability to tell your 3 other team members exactly what you need them to do and not worrying about if they heard you or not. Absolutely amazing. Another cool feature is how you mute and unmute these headsets. It's as simple as flipping down the headset when you want to be heard and flipping it up when you want to be silent. And you can also hit the mute button on the side of the headset. It's pretty important to pay attention to this though, because when it's down, just remember anybody else wearing these headsets can hear everything that you're saying. So be careful. We touched on this a bit earlier. You can connect up to 8 of these headsets at a time without any additional hardware. And if you do decide to get the additional hub, you can connect up to 21 of these headsets all at once. And from my personal experience, I don't know, maybe I'm just not that far enough yet, but I haven't been on a production where we had more than 20 people on at a time that I had to communicate with all at once. What's also really cool about the Pro versions of these headsets is that they're also backward compatible with the previous models. So if you have a friend or maybe you have some of the older ones, you can connect the new ones to them, no problem. Let's talk a little bit about the build quality of these headsets. They're not made out of any type of metal, it's mostly plastic, but to me that's a major plus because they're super lightweight and extremely comfortable to wear. I can literally wear these headsets all day and not worry about getting any type of ear or head fatigue. One other cool little feature about these headsets is the ability to group them. Let's say for example you're on a production where you have a camera department, lighting department, maybe a producer, some PAs, things like that. And let's say the camera department needs to only be in communication with other people in the camera department. So instead of broadcasting your voice to everybody on set, you can specify it to only people that are going to be in the camera department. And this is great because sometimes some of the things that you need to say doesn't need to be heard by everybody else. It could be clear instructions that's specific to your, let's say your AC or your grip or maybe your second AC. It just really depends on how many people you actually want to communicate with. You can actually group them into their own thing and just keep everything else separate. There are, however, a few things that are not so nice. One of those being the price. $12.99 for the 4-pack and $25.49 for the 8-pack is quite expensive. Now, if we're gonna look at it from a holistic view, that's not that much. But when we look at it from like, especially if you're a beginner's point of view, are you gonna spend that kind of money on a headset, or are you going to spend it on something like a lens or a cage for your camera or batteries or memory cards? There's just so many other little things that you can put that money towards that just makes more sense. But when you do get to that level of production where this is something that you can actually afford to buy, it changes the game forever. One of the coolest things that I've noticed is when, like, let's say I get to a production where I'm hired in as a camera department. And maybe there's a producer, a director that, you know, brought us in to do this type of production with them. When we pull out these headsets and I give one to maybe my 2 camera ops and I like hand the 3rd one over to the producer, they feel so privileged and honored and cool and all that kind of stuff to get one of those headsets because it just makes them feel like part of the team, and it actually just screams professionalism. One of the things that they always say is like, oh wow, this is so amazing. I've never seen anything like this before. This is so cool that you guys have that. So I don't know, it's also a cool little party trick on set. The other thing I wasn't super crazy about was the actual case that it comes in. It does seem just a little big for what it is. I feel like Hollyland could have probably made it a little bit more, let's say, compact. Now don't get me wrong, having a case is absolutely appreciated. But I think about times where I might be traveling on a plane or something, it's like, do I try and fit this in my backpack? No, it's a little too big for that. Do I put it in with my checked luggage? Maybe, but it takes up a lot of space in there as well. So do I check it as a special item? It's probably not big enough to even demand something like that in the first place. So it's just kind of in this weird, awkward size where it's a little too big for packing it into something else and a little too small to use it as like a carry-on or something if you're going into a plane. But there is one thing that I can say about these headsets. They will always be in my kit and will absolutely be on every single production that I go to going forward. And as our team grows or we start booking bigger productions, I can always add more headsets to this kit, which is fantastic. They solve so many small problems on a production. They just make your entire team more effective and efficient on set. Good communication is just one of those things that you really can't substitute on a production. And this is something that I definitely would strongly recommend adding to your kit. If the C1 Pros are a bit expensive, you can go with the original C1s, which is a little bit cheaper, but I don't know. You're giving away probably the biggest feature that makes these worth every single dollar, and that's that noise canceling capabilities. I'll leave a link in the description below if you decide to go ahead and pick up these headsets. And I mean, if you use the link, it does give us a little kickback, and that's a great way to help support this channel. If you have any other questions, leave it in the comments below. And if this video helped you in any way, make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, remember to look, learn, and share. Take it easy, guys. Peace.